Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Enemy at the Gates. This is an expansion for Heroes of the Bitter Harvest and is designed by Devin Heinley and published by Lock and Load Publishing. Well, it was great to see a new module for the Lock and Load tactical system with Heroes of the Bitter Harvest. Now we have an expansion, Enemy at the Gates, and as you would expect by the title, this is going to concentrate on the battle for Stalingrad. As we saw when we looked at Heroes of the Bitter Harvest, that was all centered around Case Blue. Now it's going to center on the action in Stalingrad from the outskirts of the city all the way into the city, and will culminate in the final scenario with the battle for Pavlov's house. It's really cool to see Stalingrad depicted in this system. Finally, after all this time, we've wanted it for years and now we finally have it. This expansion comes in a Ziploc. There is no box. So let's dive right in and take a look at all the components you get with Enemy at the Gates expansion. First up, we get the module rules and scenario book. Then we get 4 of the small format maps, and then 4 of the 4K X maps, which will be just like the small maps, but you get those big 4K X maps. And I've got this counter sheet here last because I had to put it down on the bottom. Half the counters had come out. I had to put them back in. They're not all in the exact same space as they were when they were printed, but you can see there's one already kind of trying to come back out again. These are very easy to punch, as you can see, and same quality we expect from Lock and Load Publishing with their other modules and expansions. Pre-rounded counters, everything, just beautifully done counters. So let's take a closer look at all the components. And we'll take a look at the maps that come with the game. These first 2 here we're going to look at will represent the outskirts of the city of Stalingrad. They'll either be used individually or in conjunction with a map for the interior of the city. So as the battle goes from the outskirts and the villages all the way into the city of Stalingrad, you're going to see the terrain will change. And as you always see with Lock and Load Tactical, their maps are fantastic. And these are going to be really, really busy. Lots of different buildings. You've got hills, you've got roads. It's going to be a very built up area that you're going to be fighting in, as you'd expect as you're moving into the city of Stalingrad, which is the main goal of this expansion, is concentrating on all the fighting in Stalingrad. And on the last 2 maps, we have the interior of the city of Stalingrad, where we've got the Red October factory complex, we've got the tractor works, as well as the infamous Pavlov's house. That's what's going to be modeled on these 2 maps. You'll look inside some of these buildings, you see these circles. That is going to represent the sewer entrances. War of the Rats in Stalingrad. Sewers were a major means of transit for the Soviet troops in the Battle of the City. Definitely looks like the fighting's going to be very intense and very in your face. Going to be real cool to play these scenarios. Next, we'll take a look at the 4K X maps that come with the game, and these are a great addition from Lock and Load. I really love these maps. Now, we're used to playing on the smaller maps. That's what Lock and Load Tactical was for years. But then they introduced the 4K X maps, and they just really changed gameplay up, I think, quite a bit. You've got larger hexes, so that way you can spread your counters out in the hex rather than having those stacks. If you have to pull a stack out to find a certain counter, you don't have to do that now because you can spread your counters out in that hex. That's fantastic. Now, granted, you may not have a lot of table space when you're playing a game, so you might have to use the small maps. But when you want to play and just make it easier on yourself, the 4K X maps are definitely the way to go, and it just looks much better on your table. But this is map 90, where we got the interior of the city of Stalingrad, and these are nice thick cardstock, same as always. We have map 91, which is also the other interior of Stalingrad map. Then we get to the outlying areas where we've got map 92. And then finally, map 93. Next, we'll take a look at the counter sheet that comes with the game. And as I said when we were first looking at this, these counters had just come out, about half of them had come out of the counter sheet before I even got to open it up. These are very easy to punch, so be very careful of when you pull them out of the bag that you have all of them, that none of them have fallen off prior to you opening up that Ziploc bag, because I guarantee you there will be several that will just dislodge themselves from the counter sheet. So don't lose any of them. At the top, we have the severe rubble, sewer, and the barricade counters. Beneath that, we have German forces and their weapons. We have Soviet weapons and Soviet forces. Then we have the crew served weapons and then some armored vehicles at the very bottom. Beautifully done counters, and like I said, very easy to punch. Pre-rounded, you don't have to worry about clipping. Punch them out, put them right on the map, and be ready to play. And lastly, we'll take a look at the module rules and scenarios. This is a 43-page full-color book. On the inside of the front cover, we have the table of contents listing out all the different scenarios and their associated page numbers, as well as the few rules that are added into this module. Start off with the introduction, and we have severe rubble, which is going to basically just be level 1 terrain, blocking, and nothing can get in there, even fires. We have the Maxim machine gun. We have a breakdown of the scenario information, and then we have sniper reposition and sewer movement. Like it says there, War of the Snipers. Sniper reposition, you'll take your sniper off the map, you'll put it 2 turns ahead, and it will then go back out on the map when you get to the next 2 turns. That way you can move from one location to the other. So say it's turn 1, you pull them off, it comes back in turn 3, and that is going to model the War of the Snipers, where snipers were just popping up all over the place. And that was one of the big things that the Soviets were doing to demoralize and just really be a major thorn in the side of the Germans. Germans did it as well. Sewer movement, which, like I said, it was a major transit location for infantry for the Soviets. That is modeled here as well. Then we get to hunting in the hills, the first scenario. All the scenarios are going to follow the same format. You have your order of battle for the Soviets, the Germans, you have your scenario essentials, and then your SSRs here, your special scenario rules, as well as the map layout. So everything's going to follow the same format. Solitaire play rules for the Soviet AEO and German AEO, so that way you can play either side solitaire. Red Tide South, the solo setup, inside of the docks. Push on through. Guards counterattack and hold. Into the tractor works. And now we get into the interior of the city of Stalingrad. We're seeing fire in the streets of Stalingrad. We've got the 2 maps side by side. Coffins of steel and oil. Using the same 2 maps again, just in different layouts. And then we get to armor at Pavlov's house, where you're going to use one of the exterior maps and one of the interior maps of the city of Stalingrad. Then we get to the last scenario, which is keeping the Huns at bay. And that is going to be utilizing all 4 maps. So that's going to be a nice big battle to fight through. Should be a lot of fun. And that is the back of the module book. And that is a look at everything you get inside of Enemy at the Gates. This is an expansion for Heroes of the Bitter Harvest, and is designed by Devin Heinley and is published by Lock and Load Publishing. Well, we already get a lot of game inside of Heroes of the Bitter Harvest, and now with Enemy at the Gates, we get even more. You've also now going to concentrate on the city of Stalingrad itself, one of the most famous battles in history, so it's going to be real interesting to go through all 10 scenarios, working your way from the outskirts all the way into the interior of the city, where you're going to take these 2 maps and then to take the 2 city maps from Heroes of the Bitter Harvest, put them all together, and you have a big, giant furball right there in the middle of the city of Stalingrad. So if you're looking for a tactical system, definitely give a look at Lock and Load Tactical, especially if you're an East Front fan. You have Heroes of the Bitter Harvest, as well as Heroes of the Motherland. Enemy at the Gates, the expansion for Heroes of the Bitter Harvest. You also have Valor of the 13th, which we've already covered on the channel. That is an expansion for Heroes of the Motherland. So quite a bit of East Front action here with this Lock and Load tactical system for you to enjoy. Well, I hope that helps you guys out if you've been curious about this one. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.